Welcome to a football show, Tuesday afternoon edition. That is Paul Kuharsky. I am Braden Gall. We're brought to you by Sinkers Beverages. PK, good afternoon.
Greetings. Good to see you. Monday, just complete wash. Getting back from the West Coast, you forget. I mean, took off
Takes
at
a long time.
8:30, had a connection in Denver, and all of a sudden it's 4:30, and I'm laying. It's just nothing day. It's dark when you get back.
Yeah, right. Especially this time of year. There's no question about that. Lots of stuff to get to, of course, as Cam Ward and the offense statistically played by far their best football game of the season. What does that actually mean? Why did it happen? I think we've got to talk context of the game. We've got to talk about the 49ers. We've got to talk about why it worked 2 weeks in a row, it working. Lots of stats that will create optimism for Tennessee Titans fans. It's not an excuse. For Cam Ward, it is just a fact that the team still lost and was not really competitive in the second half of this football game, but that it might have also been the best football game of the year by the offense. Lots of injuries on the defense that we need to discuss as well. Some players stepping into larger roles. I had a theory on a free agent coming up that I want to ask you about. I might also take a little trip around the AFC South a little bit later on in the show, as it seems to be like it's really genuinely one of the most interesting divisions in football outside of the Tennessee Titans. So it's really fun and interesting stuff for football fans, just obviously not here in Nashville. So it's a ton of stuff to get to. And we do appreciate all of you guys for being patient on the show. We do appreciate that here. If you want to get into the comment section, please do so, as I see plenty of you guys already there. Share the product, please, if you can, on Facebook, Twitter, and on YouTube as well. Thumbs up, notifications turned on, 5-star reviews, all that great stuff. Tell people about the show. We do really, really appreciate that. PK traveling back from the West Coast yesterday. We would have done it this morning, but I had to be on television, PK, so I apologize about that.
What are you doing on television?
It's funny. Corey Curtis, I'm gonna call out my guy Corey Curtis here. Corey Curtis doesn't even invite me to come on to talk sports. I have to go on to their lifestyle show to talk about beer. we were on their local on the twos.
To talk about your beer podcast?
Talking about the beer podcast.
That's nice.
Corey, come on, man. What's the guy got to do? What's the girl got to do to get an invite?
They have 2 minutes to talk about sports. They're not having any guests.
Oh, it's so funny. You'd appreciate this. I was standing there. We're in the green room getting ready, and lovely hosts Laura and Stephanie are great. They come out and they talk with me and Chris Chamberlain. They're like, "Look, it's a huge segment. We know there's going to be a lot of pressure. It's 5 minutes long." And I was like, "What?" we have 12 podcasts on the network. We'll be fine filling the time. I'm worried about cutting it in half. Like, that's my problem normally, is I got to cut it in half and then cut it in half again. That's a problem for me normally, PK.
Yes.
All right. Let's roll through some of these stats. If you want to stop and interrupt me at any point during these numbers to point something out or kind of start a conversation, please go for it.
All right.
And then I want to get into sort of what this all means. Why did it happen? And what does it mean sort of moving forward? So some of this stuff's going to be very basic. Some of this stuff might be not so basic, but we'll get to it. So 55 points in 2 games. That's the most since December of last year. 136 yards rushing. That's the number 2 best total of the season, behind only last week. It is the 3rd game this offense has had all season without a turnover. It is the 3rd game. This is not a great testament to the season, PK, but it is the 3rd time this team has gone over 300 yards of offense, which really is bad. It's just that's bad. One of the Colts games and the Arizona game was the other 2 that they did that. They have scored 20 points in 4 of their last 6. They only scored 20 points 2 times in the first 8 games. The Pro Football Reference rating of the offense, which is points, number of points that the offense contributed, both positively or negatively. Same with defense and special teams. Plus 13.4 for the offense. That is the number 1 game of the season by a fairly large margin. Negative 20.29 on the defense. So the defense contributed negative 20 points to this game, which is the 3rd worst performance of the season by the defense. 2.29, negative 2.29 for special teams. That's a fairly average football game, sadly, for them. It's only the 3rd time all season that the offense has been a net positive to the football team from a point standpoint. Cam Ward, 101.2 quarterback rating, highest of his career, first time ever over 100. The other 2 over 90 were New England and Seattle. 2 touchdowns and no interceptions. First time in his career he's ever done that. Also no fumbles. 0
second game in a row of 2 touchdowns. So he's got 4 touchdowns in 2 games. I mean, that's loading up the stat line for him.
It's like
it's
like one half of Trevor Lawrence.
Yep.
0 sacks for the first time the entire season. And I know what a lot of folks are going to say about all of this. Man, the team is still really bad. They got blown out and they weren't competitive in the second half. But it was 14-10 on the road with that defensive performance from the Titans, meaning non-existent. Didn't even force a punt. 14-10 with 56 left to go in the first half. Probably should have been 17-13. Probably should have been 17-17 at the half. So I don't want to focus on the second half numbers of the offense or the defense, of which the defense very bad. I want to focus on the production of the offense on the road against the 10-win team, where the game was basically even through the first 30 minutes. I think that's where you can look.
It should have been 17 and a half. Now, I don't like to operate in should have beens, right? I operate in what is. But Cam's got people are bitching about his distance throws. It's his distance throws outside the numbers. Though the throw to Helm for a touchdown is 34 yards. That's a long distance throw, and that's a good throw. But he's not great outside the numbers. Look, we talked about this in training camp, where at the start of training camp and through off season, they didn't throw outside at all. I mean, they were an inside the numbers team because he's an inside the numbers guy. So that's an element of his game that needs to expand that we haven't really spent a lot of time on, because I think they've masked it to some degree, and he's made some reasonably good throws out there. That is not a strength of his game, and that's something the new coaching staff is going to need to work with him on. It comes with the footwork and the mechanics and all of those things. Will get better. Also needs better weapons out there. But when he missed Van Jefferson, who was wide open out there a few plays before halftime, that was a real killer. He threw it too far over his outside shoulder, out of bounds. So he's throwing it in a safe place where it's not going to get intercepted, but he also threw it in a too safe place where his guy couldn't go get it. That's a disappointing throw. That's a walk-in touchdown, a 40-yard play. They settle for a field goal attempt there, right? Is that the missed field goal? Yeah.
It's the missed field goal, yeah.
So it stays 17-13.
Or it was 17-10.
Stays 17-10.
And
then they come out
13, and it should have been 17-17. Yeah.
And they play terrible defense and give up the easiest drive of the game, a 4-play, easy march. Look, the defense wasn't up to the task. I think San Francisco's a very good team, very well coached team, playing without key defenders. And they scored on, the Titans didn't force a punt. They gave up points on every drive except one where Simmons forced a fumble. And Purdy, kind of shot put a ball that was hit on the backswing. But this is a defensive loss first and foremost. Defense didn't play well, substitute in several people because of injuries. Today, Denard Wilson was telling us, they were making plans for what if they lost one more safety, and Elam was going to have to move from corner. A corner they don't like, who's deep on the depth chart, was going to have to move to play in a deep safety. So it was a mess back there, but defense didn't make any plays. Simmons, had the one big play. That not enough. Offensively, it's progress. Again, we're seeing the kind of things now that I said, and a lot of people were saying, if we saw this kind of progress, and they were on the upswing at the end of the season, we feel good about where this team was. We just expected it would come with 5 or 6 wins, and the 5 or 6 wins haven't shown up. But the progress is showing up. And so in that regard, you can feel a little bit encouraged.
So there's 2 things that really stuck to me when I went back and rewatched it again this morning to just confirm how I felt. Because I came away from the first half with a vibe that's really hard to quantify. By the end of the game, all the stats and all the metrics tell a very clear story that this was the best and most efficient offensive showing by the Tennessee Titans in 2025 season. That factually, that has to be the case. Do we have to add
I think it's hard to feel that way. Like, if I'm quantifying it how I feel better about last week than I felt about
Sure.
this week. Now, the Browns are a worse team, but the Titans played a better game against the Browns, clearly, and it resulted in a win. That's a huge marker to me. I'm not going to let the metrics overrule the result. But the Titans played better in Cleveland than they did in San Francisco. I think the offense by itself also. But this was a good offensive performance.
And again, I'm trying to kind of maybe zero in on Cam Ward specifically, which again is an outsized influence on the conversation that we have about the Tennessee Titans, the running game, and the way they on their designed runs. I think they were averaging almost 7 yards a carry against the San Francisco 49ers, which like 2 weeks in a row, the game plan worked with Tony Pollard and the offensive line, and this one was without Dan Moore. And so there's tons of other factors. This is the worst pass rush defense in the NFL, but by a large margin. They are last in pressures, last in sacks, last in everything. The Niners, they are going to give your quarterback a little bit more time than everybody else. That's just a factor here. But so again, the facts say one thing, that this was clearly a better performance. I think that there are two things that I came away from the game feeling more that were like, this is just something I'm sensing that feels a little different with Cam Ward operating inside of the offense. And that is that there's two things. One of them is like something I think they should focus on. The other one I think is, to your point about the sign of progress. I think people wanted it earlier in the season, and to your point, wanted it probably with a couple of more wins. And you guys there's a lot of comments over here, so I'll get to you guys in just a second. But the game looked like in the first, I'm not talking second half when he's got to drop back and throw and they're out down by two touchdowns, 3 scores, whatever. In those moments, and especially the drive near the last few drives in the second quarter, the game looked slower for Cam Ward. That he looked like he wasn't like trying to rush through things, fluster his way out of a pocket. And some of that's because the pass rush wasn't there, and I get that. But I saw some of it last week, just a glimpse of, in the moment, the game slowed down. On 3rd and 8 around the goal line against the Browns, the game slowed down. He made the right read. He made the right throw. Perfect throw, touchdown. Took the lead when they needed to. It felt like the game was just a tiny bit slower. It's hard to quantify that. He is not good. If you look at the split stats, PK, he is not good when there's more than when he has more than 2.5 seconds to throw. Some of that's because he's extending the play to a point where it's not productive anymore. But it felt like he knew, like everything was just a half beat more on time. And it's going to be hard to see if that continues or progresses. And the types of throw that I think we need to see from Cam Ward, and this is the problem with him in college, and you just alluded to the outside down the field to the numbers. They're not even catchable. Like his inaccurate throws are landing out of bounds. They're not even contested in completions. Like if you watch clips of every outside the number throw, the vast majority of them, the receiver's not even in a position to make a play on the ball. That is really concerning.
Yeah. But
when it's this loft thing that he loses his accuracy on, that throw to Helm, what made that throw different is it was underneath cover. It was in between coverage, and he had to keep it a little bit lower, a little bit more, not on a rope, but the Mahomes type of throw, the Josh Allen type of throw where it goes up and it comes down real fast. It's kind of a little bit more on the line, and he had to get it there faster. When he has to get it there faster, he is far more accurate. When he has to make it a touch pass over the top, it's just not his strength.
No, really.
And so I want to see more of those throws where he is anticipating, and it's a little bit more it's the throw to Calvin Ridley against the Cardinals that was way down the middle of the field, right? Remember that long, deep throw down the middle of the field between two people, and Ridley made a really great catch on it. It was way down the field, but it wasn't a lofted ball. It was a little bit more on a line. And he is clearly more accurate that way. He's got to work. I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means back shoulder fades a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage, more backside digs. I don't know what it means.
But he's going to have to make that other throw once in a while, at least once in a while. And they've got to work with him on that. So that's on the list of off-season things. Both things are on the list. Hey, design things that suit that throw you're talking about more, but also help him make that other throw on the occasions that he has to make it better.
And I want to one of the things I was going to ask you, because I think accuracy is sort of like 3-point shooting, or like hitting for batting average, or having a 100-mile-an-hour fastball. Like, I think you just, like, God gave it to you. like I think you can improve stuff like that marginally. But
Agreed.
you're either an elite 3-point shooter, you throw 100 miles an hour with the baseball, like, you either have it or you don't. And I don't know if you can coach accuracy like in a dramatic way. I think you can go from like 58% to like 64%, but I don't think you go from 60% to Drew Brees. Like,
No.
I don't think you can do that.
No, but the percentage gain you're talking there, I mean, you're giving him 6 points. If he can get 6 points, that'd be a terrific gain, and you'll take it. I don't know where exactly he is right now. I'm leaning forward, showing people my beard close up because I've got a stat book here that'll tell me what his overall completion percentage is. He's at
59.3.
I mean, you got to get him to 65 at least, right?
I mean, like you're saying, like, in his third or fourth season in the NFL, when he's playing at his best, he needs to be at 65. Yes, I agree.
66.
I agree. Yeah.
I mean, and you don't like that either, but I think that's the bottom. Like, can he be a successful NFL quarterback at 66?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if that's, his one bad number and the rest of them surrounding that are good, you can survive with that. It's not ideal.
Now, again, so one of these questions is really good because I wanted to get into it. This is from Fitty here. It says, if the Titans had an average receiving core, and then, do you think Cam's numbers would look substantially better, or do you think play calling would stay conservative and keep his numbers low? I am starting to look. The receiving core is not helping anybody. All right, that's a fact. The team is not good. Okay, I'm starting to think it's less about the receivers because on this particular throw, because these guys aren't even in positions to make contested catches.
Well, that throw it's not, but when he makes a Mahomesian move to get to the right sideline and buy himself a hell of a lot of time and hits DK in the chest,
yes,
that is a receiver issue. But it is not quite as big a factor. Look, the receivers stink, but the drops are not quite as big. I mean, the Titans are not off the charts in drops, and drops are in every quarterback's completion percentage. Now, if I haven't looked at the numbers lately, but last time I looked, the Jaguars led the league in drops, and now I'm sure they're playing better for Trevor Lawrence to have the game that he just had, but drops hit every quarterback's completion percentage, and every quarterback has some degree of drops. Now, whether your team has 10 or 20, obviously affects it, but a difference of 10 drops is not going to sink your completion percentage by itself.
So according to Pro Football Reference, Cam Ward is 7th in the NFL with 20 drops. That's behind Herbert, Caleb Williams, Prescott, Mahomes, Bo Nix, Trevor Lawrence. Those are 6 of the most productive.
So what's Bo Nix's completion percentage?
Bo Nix's completion percentage, because it doesn't have it on this page, is sitting at 63.5. Actually, that's much lower than I expected it to be at.
All right,
considering
Trevor
I just
Lawrence?
watched
How about Trevor Lawrence?
Oh, Trevor Lawrence is no. You're good. Actually, much lower this year than expected. 59.7. So right around where
some guys are playing some good football with some low completion percentage. I mean, that's encouraging to me.
Mahomes actually 63% for Mahomes. That's one of the lower numbers in his career. When I was going to get at around the receiver,
I wonder if completed percentage is down around the league. I mean, there are some playoff quarterbacks. And the best quarterback in the league who had a bad season with bad numbers.
So my reaction to that comment, I agree with your point. Like, A, the receiving core is not very good. B, the drops have hurt in certain situations, in particular the DK throw this past week, where Cam Ward does something fairly miraculous and throws a perfect strike for a first down on a long yardage play, and DK just bounces off his chest.
And that's got a bigger effect than not hitting that play. It's a demoralizing play.
Yeah. What I'm thinking through is when you go back and watch all of the throws out deep down the field, especially outside the numbers, which again, I said during the scouting report, he was bad at this at Miami. He was bad at this at Washington State. it doesn't mean not to take him. It just means it's a thing we got to watch. They're not contested, PK. It is not because the receiver is covered or because he missed a pass or he didn't go make a ridiculous catch like Jamar Chase or T. Higgins over the top of somebody. These aren't like, hey, go moss somebody and you'll make my completion percentage better. These balls are landing 5-6 feet away from the play. They're out of bounds. And I'm not trying to belabor the point that this is concerning, but I don't think the receivers factor into that part of this issue here. I don't think the receivers are open. DK has been open. Jefferson was open. He's missing the open guys in that one area of the field, and I don't know how much better it gets. I think you throw more passes and more routes like you did to Gunnar Helm, deep posts down the middle where you can put a little more smoke on it. That is where he seems to excel when you go watch all of his good throws.
Which game did he make that remarkable throw to Chig near the end of the game?
Was that the Texans? No, I can't remember.
Right. I mean, they were in that game. Maybe it was the Seattle game. I mean, that's
the only one. It's the only one
I'm looking for, right? But that had some arc on it. It was up in the air for a good while. Chig ran underneath it. It was right on the sideline. So it's not like the Texans can't ever do it.
It's the only one. Can you think of another throw?
No, but I don't have an index memory for things like this. So I'm the wrong guy to play that.
The only one I can think of is the quick slot fade to Calvin Ridley against Arizona on the last drive when they had to, because then he threw a very next
one.
That
was big. That was a big play.
The very next one was the Gunnar Helm, but I wouldn't call that one deep. That was more of like more of an intermediate throw.
Yeah.
But the Ridley throw was an arced pass where Ridley had stacked his defender and created a window to go over the top of both of them. And if you put it in stride, it's an NFL throw. And he made that throw to Calvin Ridley. But I can't remember.
Go to these last two questions from F133. They're both good.
This one right here.
Yeah.
It's got two of them. Okay, so it's not all about drops. Separation and route discipline are a huge factor in my opinion. We totally agree with that.
Absolutely true. This one, for instance, the almost INT to Van Jefferson looked like Van just stopped running, and that's why it looked like such a terrible throw. This,
I disagree with that.
Your guys, Justin and Justin did, so it's getting a lot of press. But Van Jefferson, we're told, was never to be an option on that route. So it looks bad because Van stopped. So I don't know what Van's doing there, but Van's never expecting that ball to come to him because Van is never in the read or expecting the ball to come to him. So yes, he should keep running there because he's alive and it's an NFL play. But
he's alive.
But right, I mean, he's alive and
he's breathing oxygen and on a field.
So and he's a live receiver in the play. He's one of the 5 eligible players.
Right.
So he looks bad, but he's never expecting Cam Ward to make that throw. And today Holtz told us Cam absolutely should have thrown that ball to the nearest receiver to him, kind of near the flat or given up.
Throw it away.
But that there's an option there. I don't know who it was that's underneath is the guy to go to. So this is an example. And look, I like these guys watching film or whatever, but they're presuming something that they don't know. And so they look at that, they see Van slow down and they give Van the business for not running there, but Van's not in the play. Yeah. So until you ask somebody behind the scenes, what's Van doing here? And they go, oh, well, Van has no reason to expect the ball's coming to him there. Right. Now, I understand a play has, scramble life or whatever, but that wasn't even really a scramble play. It was relatively quick pressure. And that's not where he's supposed to be looking, given the circumstances of relatively quick pressure. And so Van is not expecting anything there, given relatively quick pressure. Van should be turning, quite frankly, to block for the guy who's getting the ball underneath.
Yeah. Look, he also, the same player who almost intercepted it on that play, almost intercepted another one. That was a bad throw by Cam, whether Van Jefferson slowed down or not. I think we can all kind of safe to assume that, those are the kinds of plays you have to eliminate. Your receivers aren't always going to be exactly where they need to be. And yes, to Fleety, by the way, is how he pronounces
Fleety.
His name.
Let's just tell Fleety this is not being run by Gall's daughters who write in this language. We're English speakers.
Come on. Doesn't your son speak like this too?
No.
He's a teenage baseball player. Come on. He has to be talking in another teenage language these days.
We're
no,
not teenagers is the point.
Yeah, that's
he's
100%
not
true.
here either.
And to your point, Fleety, you're completely correct that on a lot of throws, on a lot of routes, on a lot of concepts, the Titans offense and the quarterback are being limited by the talent. There's no question that is absolutely true. I am just focused on, yet again, another missed opportunity to tie the football game going into halftime on the road against one of the best teams in the league, when they looked like they belonged. That's what I felt was interesting. That's why I watched the game going like, I feel like Cam, the game is slowing down, and this is a positive sign because it looks like they belong on the field right now. I'm not saying they're better or that they're going to win or that they're making some huge progress or whatever, but it just looked a little more real. It looked like and you designed a route against the perfect coverage, and Cam read it properly and completely whiffed on it. And that route is going to be a problem.
And Van Jefferson being a bad receiver, it's not a factor in that play. Now, it's been a factor in other stuff, and they've just not done enough with that spot. You know, they thought they could. Yeah. He'd be a reclamation project. And I'm disappointed that Jefferson isn't better there, because Jefferson is a quality guy and he works his ass off. So the payoff isn't there. But he's the last guy at the jugs machine every day. And I'm not talking by a couple minutes. Like, he is out there 20 minutes longer than anybody else working the jugs machine. It's just not translating.
Yeah.
And so, like, you know, on the human scale, you're disappointed for a guy you see like that. Jaquan Jackson last year, when he was failing, you weren't disappointed for him because he was a douche.
There you go. The talent around him sucks, says Mike, but Cam's also not elevating the team at this point. Both things can be true. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And again, when the running game is sound, they're protecting the quarterback. Some of that was because the Niners don't pressure the quarterback. And Cam is now 13 games into his career. It 14 games in. It seems like he's seeing things a little faster, reacting a little faster, and is calmer when he's executing. And I think that's what led to a plus 100 quarterback rating, the best offensive metrics of the season, 24 points on the heels of scoring 31 in a win the week before. It's not what you want to see. It's not the end result. It's not what it's all supposed to look like eventually. But the game plan seemed sound. The offensive line executed, and the quarterback looked more under control for the second week in a row. That is tangible progress. It's not an excuse. It's tangible progress, because there are still glaring issues all over the offense. Now, I wanted to ask you about tight ends. Because
real quickly, that tangible progress could result in wins. I mean, they could win the next two games here. Kansas City's going to be deflated, and they're starting a backup quarterback now. Gardner Minshew has had his way with the Titans sometimes in the past. Titans are hardly guaranteed to beat a backup quarterback. Titans have a history of losing to shitty quarterbacks, especially shitty quarterbacks. And Gardner Minshew is, you know, on the especially shitty quarterback list. He doesn't rank that high. But, you know, that team could come in here deflated, having been eliminated from the playoffs and being without Mahomes. And then the Saints are playing better, but they're still not very good. These are two winnable games, but I think maybe better defensive fronts than the Titans have seen the last 2 weeks, minus Myles Garrett. Yeah. Maybe a little harder to run against.
What'll be interesting. So first of all, I can't believe that you're not accounting for Taylor Swift's bachelorette party this weekend in Nashville.
Is she bringing the girls?
Because every woman getting married in 2025 has to have a bachelorette party in Nashville, Tennessee.
Maybe I should be out downtown.
And I just assume that because Travis is in town, that she would just take the opportunity to come back home and have her bachelorette party.
Let's have an aside here. What do you think of the scene that's been played a lot from the Disney special of her giving out bonuses, right? She writes the cards to everyone and she gave out the bonuses. They didn't say the numbers, but some people think, oh, this is great behind the scenes stuff. And other people think this is a very self-aggrandizing moment where she's showing off that she's giving out these bonuses. Now, there had been much written about these bonuses, so it's not a secret. I want your thoughts before I share mine.
Well, why don't you? Well, I'd like to put you on the spot here, and you can share your thoughts first.
I like seeing it. I find her to be a very sincere person. So I don't think she's doing a lot of fake stuff. I don't think she needs to put on an act for anybody. I think she's filthy rich. I think she's very generous, and that she included that. And this is to offer a whole picture. I don't think this is propaganda.
So it is a by design documentary about her, with her as the final edit. I mean, if you didn't like The Last Dance with Michael Jordan, and you thought that was disgusting propaganda where Michael Jordan got final edit, then maybe you feel the same way about
that. Everybody loved the Jordan.
Exactly, exactly my point.
Right. So you should love this.
Then you got, so here, like, we'll do this full aside. It's a full aside now at this point. So I have a little inside information on this.
You've got Swift people?
Well, my daughter plays on a softball team with one of the band members, and she goes to school. Both
one
of
the
kids,
band members' children, I would hope.
Sorry, yes. Yes. It's very strange watching a 45-year-old man play in the girls' softball league. It's very strange.
Co-educational and no age limits.
He's a really, really nice dude. He's a really good dude, and I've gotten to know him over the last couple of years because their kids
go to my kids. What was his bonus? Cut to the chase. That's what
I'm not going to reveal that information because I didn't ask him about that. But my point is that
you don't have the information.
The like the opening scene. Are you talking about the most recent one, the one that just came out? That came out on Disney.
Yeah.
So the opening scene of the very first episode, because that's the only one I've watched so far, is like her giving a pump up speech to the final show or whatever with all of this crew, right? It's the whole crew. They're all around, and like it's a little too much for me because it's clear that they're doing it a little bit for the cameras, but by and large, what she does, and again, this is just one guy's perspective who doesn't love her music and doesn't listen to a lot of her stuff. She's an extraordinarily important person for young women in particular.
Absolutely.
And the messages she sends through the entire documentary that I have seen so far are extremely positive. And everything she is doing is trying to lift people up. You may not love every single word that she says on a documentary that is where she has final edit, of course. But like, she's very, very genuine. Yeah, somebody mentioned Garth Brooks in the commentary. Garth Brooks is also in a similar, like, he's a pretty actually genuine guy for a guy that's that famous or whatever. Does a lot of good stuff. But yeah, of course, his documentary.
Nowhere near as talented.
No, of course not. Trisha's the most talented person in that household. But Taylor's it's very real for her. Like, it's not fake at all. Now, I looked over at my wife a few times during some of those phone calls with Travis Kelce in that opening documentary. I was like, oh my God, they just started dating in this. It's disgusting. It's disgusting.
Young kids in love.
It's so Haley and I are looking at each other like, oh, this is gross. Wait till you're married 20 years. But no, it's like, she's very real about all this stuff. And honestly, I'm glad my daughters are watching someone work their ass off, because my oldest needs to see what it takes to find success in life. That you got to work your ass off. Anyway,
I think it's very respectable. So you had no problem with the bonus?
No problem. Put it on there, man. I think I'd have a bigger problem
if looking to give her grief about something.
She's like, it's hard to explain the value she has in terms of like monoculture, like bringing people together, people from different backgrounds, people from different political views. Like it's like those concerts, I've never been, but like I know a lot of people that have, and man, it's like it's hard to explain what it means to like commune. The euphoria is very obvious.
Our guy Fluffy is having problems with us injecting Taylor Swift.
Okay,
into
sorry.
the football conference.
I look, Travis Kelce's coming, Patrick Mahomes is not.
We're sorry. You can handle it.
Yeah. Garth has bodies.
Back to football. X's and O's. Quick. Recover with some X's and O's.
Garth has bodies hidden in all 3 grand divisions of Tennessee. That's good stuff.
I don't know what grand divisions are.
That would be
East, Central, and the West.
East, Middle, and West Tennessee. All right, okay, all right. Back to tight ends. Gunnar Helmet, Chigakonkwo, I want to see them with the ball all the time.
They've been. I mean, I was surprised. It didn't feel like it during the game, but they were the top 2 target guys in this game, heavily featured.
I
didn't feel like Chig had a particularly good game. He blew that block on the screen, and they threw it to him very short. They're just not getting him into specific or good enough situations. I don't think. But more More to him. I agree. I mean, we're talking about how bad the receiving core is. Utilize these two guys who are better than that. Go.
And I think Chig is more than just like, hey, throw him a tight end screen and let him make some plays, because that is clearly what he's one of the few players that I'm like, oh, I think he can break some tackles and pick up a few yards after catch. He's one of him and Spears are like the only two guys that I trust to do that.
Throw to him in the middle of the field, like we're talking
I agree.
about, where Cam is very comfortable.
I agree. But the thing that he also brings, like, not only are you like, this team in the offseason has too many holes on its roster to have to go fill more spots. And I think having Chig and Helm on the roster is a good start to just say, hey, we don't have to go get we have to get one more tight end maybe, but it goes further down the list. I think they should re-sign him. I think they should figure out a way to utilize him a little bit more effectively. I think Cam needs to look to him more often in the offense as a primary option. But also I think his value in the locker room, like, he's one of the few guys that's like happy all the time. Like, you need some of that energy in the locker room, because Arden Key, he's the other one that does that. And I don't know if he's going to be around much longer.
It's also, Chig has been around and could tell people what it used to be like when they were good, and, through a couple coaches and all of that. And there's some value in that. There are very few guys who've been around for stuff.
Yeah. What did Gunnar Helm was offside twice on offense, which is hard to do. Did they explain that after the game?
I mean, it was a relatively modest penalty day, so you take that. I think they had
exactly
4 maybe.
Did the doc show her throwing interceptions like the Ward Doobie doc? Says Ed Henry.
I haven't watched that. Is it worth watching?
I haven't either, but they finally released the files, and all of a sudden the offense started playing good. So they released the files. 7
penalties for 57 yards. I underrated them. Only gave up 3 first downs. I totally underrated that. My bad.
Go Forth says, is Femi going to touch the field again this season? They're working the way the coach talked about it, that they're working to try to get him onto a practice field.
At least to practice.
What it sounds like.
I think he maybe has a chance. I mean, he's a very disappointing pick. He was disappointing when he was playing. Once a guy's hurt, that's shit luck.
Yeah, hard to evaluate.
Shit luck is disappointing, but it's not like he went out to break his leg.
Jason, can you explain? Diego Pavia was talking shit about Braden, right? I'm looking forward to his spiritually uplifting documentary. I don't understand the joke, but I appreciate it. I voted for Diego Pavia for my Heisman ballot, so I'll just put that out there.
So many people have Heisman's ballots. It's ridiculous. They should collect them all.
Why are you such a negative
re-examine who gets one. I'm fine with you having one, but there are lots of people that have one that have no business having one.
I appreciate that. Sinkers Beverages does not vote for your Heisman, but they will deliver on Christmas. Literally, like, both deliver figuratively with all of your gift options, and also if you need to order some booze. Search Uber Eats for Sinkers Beverages. They'll deliver that booze directly to your holiday party, whether it's an office party, whether it's with family, in-laws, you name it. You have them deliver right to your house this weekend for Titans and Chiefs. If you want, have them delivered right to your house over the college football playoff games on Friday and Saturday night. Sinkers Beverages is your home for all of your liquor, booze, wine, beer, RTDs, THCs, everything else, mocktails. They've got barware as well if you want to find some good gifts. If you are struggling to find a gift, a small gift, a stocking stuffer for somebody in your life, please just walk in there. I guarantee you'll find something that you can give to people around you, whether it doesn't have to be alcohol. It could be non-alcoholic. It could be all the other things they've got there, but go check them out. Sinkers Beverages in East Nashville, over 40 years of serving the community. Sign up for the In Crowd. It is a wonderful way to stay up to date on all the specials they have going. They do not hit your email box. They're going to hit you maybe once or twice, maybe 3 times in a year, but it's all really, really worth it. And they've kind of figured out how to not overdo it with their communications with their customers, just the right amount. It's excellent. It's unlike a Cam Moore deep shot outside the numbers. They have excellent touch. So Sinkers Beverages, everybody, make sure you check them out. All right, so I wrote down Helm and Chig. I also wrote down Mullings, who we saw make his debut. Just worth noting that he actually got into a game. How about some defensive players here before we get to the injuries? Jalen Harrell. What's going on here? Is this a player who is slowly but surely realizing he doesn't have explosive athletic traits? He never did, but he was really well coached at Michigan. Was very good in camp the last 2 years. Didn't do much last year. Is all of a sudden getting opportunities. He is not a starting player on this defense, but is he a depth piece for this team next year?
Maybe. I was thinking about Jalen Harrell, and Jalen Harrell is one of these guys who's a beneficiary of time and lack of depth. And so he gets to play. Um, he gets more of a chance than he probably would get if they had, certainly than he would get if they had more players in front of him. And so he gets this time and he starts to figure some things out. And he's got a couple sacks now in short order. And that's production. And so now he gives him a little production. He's got a little bit on tape. If he could do a little bit more in the next 3 games, it gets the attention of the next staff. They certainly can't fill out the depth so much in a year. And he probably has the attention of Borgonzi and Brinker. He gets a little star next to his name on the roster going into offseason and camp. And, gets second team reps maybe going into camp, or second team spot on the camp depth chart. Now, can he build on that? We don't know, but he's buying himself an opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's what you'd expect from a guy, low draft pick that had some traits coming out. And you want more guys to do that and maybe turn himself into a guy that's on your depth chart.
Somebody on this team needs more Cedric Grays, a player who has taken a massive step forward in his second year, a guy they drafted for the role that he is actually playing. And they need like 4 more of these guys to develop in the next 3 weeks. They have to have more. They have to have more of this. The draft picks have to be contributing.
But if Harrell can develop into third or fourth edge guy for you, that'd be terrific. That's what you get out of a guy drafted where you drafted him. Once in a while, a guy like that will explode, but mostly you want a guy who can be on your roster for the length of his rookie contract. And he looks like he's on track to do that, which is great.
You want a depth piece there, especially that position. Another position you desperately need a depth piece at, Marcus Harris. Is Marcus Harris in the same category for you right now, or is he playing? Is he going the other direction?
No, I think Marcus Harris, if they replenish cornerback the way they need to, which means there are going to be 3 new cornerbacks here next year, probably a free agent, probably a high draft pick, and probably a middling draft pick, or maybe, a high free agent, a middle free agent, and a high draft pick. But in some way, shape, or form, you're replacing Snead, Brownlee, and McCreary. And then Harris, if he can be your 4th guy with inside-outside flexibility, can be a depth piece for you. Same thing as Harrell, but a little better. And he's a little younger, so a little earlier in his developmental thing. But that's exactly what you want him to be. And then if he could press your nickel, or be the first guy off the bench when one of these guys gets hurt, you're in terrific position. I'd say the same thing for Baker. I think Baker was a lot better last year than this year. Yep. I think there's a lot more put on him this year, but I think last year maybe was an aberration where he outplayed expectations. But I would re-sign Baker and have him here to be in your mix for like being the 5th guy. And if he could be the 5th guy, that's a big thing with this roster. You want to restore everybody to their natural depth chart position. If Darrell Baker could be your 5th corner, that's fine. You just need him not to be anywhere near being your 1 or 2.
Yeah. No, I agree. Jordan says feels laughable now that we were all debating Barton's linebacker running mate as a race between Gray and Williams. Look, the Titans did that to some degree because they had Williams starting and ahead of Gray the entire preseason and in the first game. And all it took was 1 game for them to switch immediately and go to Cedric Gray. Now, that's concerning that they thought James Williams was better for the entirety of training camp. It's smart that they immediately flipped to Gray. And maybe they knew all along that they were just giving Williams an opportunity and that they had a stand. They knew what Gray could offer. But I think the even just the development from the first week of the season till now, obviously, there's concerns with the concussion. I don't know if he's going to be back in time for the Chiefs game, but the tackle pace he's on, he's actually starting to show better in coverage as well. He is clearly learning and banking intel throughout the course of the season, which is what we talked last week about with Cam. The only way to get better is to play games in the NFL because there's not really any other ways to play this sport anymore. And playing middle linebackers even worse. Like, you have to be in traffic to learn how to play in traffic. Like, that's the only way you can do it. So
I don't like tackles as a stat. They have finally standardized them. You used to have the league count off press box stats, which were unreliable, and then the coaches, each coaching staff would have their own stats, and so they've standardized the press box stats, which are reviewed in game by more reliable eyes that are kind of unified around the league. But still, it's not an official stat. And, Cedric Gray's making a lot of tackles, which is good. How far away from the line of scrimmage are they? It's a good thing that he's dragging a guy down 12 yards away from the line of scrimmage, but it's a better thing that he's dragging him down 2 yards away from the line of scrimmage, and then we've been talking in the press box. Well, do you want one guy making 18 tackles, or do you want those tackles split three ways amongst three different guys?
Look, PK.
And so it's very hard for me. He's playing well is the big thing, but I don't want to tag it on a tackle number.
No, but here's the key, and I think Jordan nailed this. Like, Gray's at the bottom of every pile for sure. When a ball carrier's down, you can expect to see 33 jump out of the fray. I think this is ultimately the key. He is around the football at all times.
All the time. Yeah.
His run fits back in training camp all the way through the entire regular season. His run fits have been outstanding. I watched. I don't remember when it was. Maybe it was the third quarter, but the defense was so bad, as you mentioned, they did not even punt the Niners. There were a couple times, and Cody Barton is a good dude. He's a nice guy. You root for him. He's one of the vocal parts of the defense. But the number of times I see him shoot through a gap to try to make a tackle, and the play is already outside the numbers, and he's just chasing, and I'm going, that's the wrong run fit. That's picking the wrong gap and doing the wrong thing. And Cedric Gray doesn't seem to do that. Like, also, I remember watching Gibbons and Chance Campbell and all these guys that are basically the same frat bro make a bunch of tackles 8 yards downfield on running plays. And Cedric Gray is making them 2-3 yards downfield. So I do think his instincts, his reaction ability, his diagnostic skills, and his run fits, knowing what hole to attack and then being able to shed side to side, he's doing that better than I've seen a lot of people do it in a Titans uniform.
No, I think Gray's a very good player. Don't get me wrong. And he's doing very good things for them. And he's a rare guy who's developed. Frank Bush hasn't developed to anybody in his career, and he gets credit for this guy. It's a big feather in his cap. I don't pin it on the tackle. Yeah, Sammy, I see that list.
So here's what
Nick Suss put together.
How many lists of linebackers who've had 4 games of 16 plus tackles in their first 2 seasons? And he's only really been playing for 1 season. And I guess Sammy, I haven't fact checked this, but
that's Nick Suss's list. Yeah.
So Jonathan Vilma, Patrick Willis, Luke Kuechly. I guess that's Nick Bolton, Warlow, and Cedric Gray. So that's quite a list. Yeah, quite a list of players.
So that bodes well for his future, for sure. I'm just saying, I'm hesitant to pin a lot on tackles. That certainly tells you it's a big thing. And I think he's going to be a good player here for long. He can cover better. He's not a great coverage guy. Barton, huge disappointment. They need to pair him with somebody better. But I think Barton's another guy. I haven't looked at his contract, but I suspect they're hooked to him for 2 years, the way that they're hooked to Dan Moore for 2 years. And look, they got to be hooked to somebody for 2 years because they can't replace everybody after 1 year.
Well, so here there's an out in Cody Barton's contract after this year. $6 million in dead cap money. So he's either going to.
I don't think it's impossible to replace. I mean, the Titans have taken this attitude that you can find a guy for that spot, generally speaking. And I would play the find a guy game at that spot instead of paying Cody Barton. I don't see it.
I
also think his leadership, I think he's a nice guy and all that. I like him, but I think the leadership tone rings a little hollow. But I'm a big believer on you got to play well to have legitimate leadership, and I don't think he's played well enough to have the stripe.
I tend to agree with that. So here's the thing. He's going to make $8.2 million, $8.7 million over the next 2 years. So you either keep him and you pay him over $8 million a season for the next 2 seasons, which I think next year maybe is a smart investment. I'm not sure about the next one. or the following season, or you pay him $6 million in dead cap money and you have to go find a replacement. So is he worth $2 million more dollars? You probably keep him. I don't even like that I'm thinking about that because I felt so bullish about him in camp. I think he is probably a slightly below average. Like if you're talking WAR like baseball, my guess is that he's slightly below the average player at his position, and so you probably could find a replacement, but it's not a necessity right now. It's sort of inverted. We had Barton as the one established guy. Well, his running mate could be the 11th player on the defense, and it would be fine. Well, it's the opposite now. Barton might be the 11th guy on the defense.
Sammy's saying, draft a mid-round guy to develop and everything. But here's what we're doing now, outside of overlisting the guys we want with the first 3 picks. I think we're overlisting. We'll just draft a mid-round guy. Well, we're calling mid-round 4th and 5th, maybe 6th, 4th and 5th. Well, what do we want with 4th and 5th? Well, a second cornerback, a running back, now an inside linebacker, second receiver, what else?
Interior offensive lineman, running back. I mean,
interior offensive lineman, developmental tackle, another safety maybe. So we just listed 6 positions for the 4th and 5th round pick.
Good news is
the problem that we run into.
The good news is the Ravens are going to make the playoffs probably. So
yeah, I need that half sack. Draymond Jones has some good metrics going, but 3 games half sack, clock's ticking.
Oh, he hasn't gotten to the second sack yet? Oh, I thought he got
he's got 1.5.
So that'll move from a 5th to a 4th rounder, correct?
Yeah.
I think there's a chance they double up at corner for sure also. If we're just kind of looking ahead, I wouldn't be surprised if they trade back in the first, they get a corner in the first and then a corner in the 3rd or the 4th. I wouldn't be surprised if they do 2 of those. The safety injuries obviously were a huge concern, but here's the thing.
Amani Hooker got a long-term contract. Amani Hooker has had a bad season.
Yeah.
I like Amani Hooker a lot. He has not come out and said, and the one thing I really respect Lloyd Cushenberry has said, I've been disappointed. I've been a disappointment in my 2 years here. And Amani Hooker, who's a stand-up guy, not a great quote, but a stand-up guy, I've given him a couple opportunities this year. Hey, how do you feel it's gone since the extension? And he has not said, not well. And I think we could universally agree, Amani Hooker this year, maybe he's overextended because of these corners, but he hasn't said, hey, I've been a little overextended because of the cornerback situation and I haven't played that well. He thinks he's played all right or better than all right, and he has not. He has had a rough season.
I agree with that. I do think some of it's the corners, but he's not also going to throw the corners under the bus on that quote either. But I hear
he could just talk about himself.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. Titans are going to have, this is from Big 2033, the Titans are going to have to make a decision on what's best for the franchise and what's best to win, which is get Ward a number 1 receiver or improve the pass rush. I don't know. We'll see about that.
Trade down, do both. If they're at number 2, you get trade down. The second quarterback's going to be of value. Trade down, end up with 2 firsts, and address both.
Forrest says, won't be able to trade down if you're drafting 3rd, though. I don't know about that. It depends on who wants to go up and get Mendoza, if Dante Moore is still in the draft or not. I mean, how well does Ty Simpson play Friday night against Oklahoma? We shall see. There's a lot of needs on the team. That's where we are. The team is not great, but I do think the offense played its best game of the entire season based on metrics, but also based on the eye test in the first half of a close football game against a very good team on the road. Cam Ward looked more comfortable than I have seen him. And that's all. Doesn't mean he's going to do it next week. Doesn't mean it's a sign of anything permanent. We need to see another step, but I want to see him look like he's having fun again, look like the game has slowed down over the next 3 weeks. And if that's happened and you go off into the offseason with a couple more games with multiple touchdowns, you feature those tight ends in the passing attack, maybe you win one of these games. I think that's all positive stuff for the team moving forward.
I mean, I second all of that. I know winning another one screws them up, and still get a very good player. Probably kills you in terms of trading back and getting 2 very good players. So I understand the people who are concerned with that, but the gains they've made here certainly get more validation if it produces another win.
Big. So Big sounds like Big didn't join at the beginning, where he says he looked more comfortable because San Francisco has no pass rush. We've already kind of talked about that, but his throw to Helm was the first time I saw him land a deep throw where he had time to throw it. He also put it a little bit more on a rope, a little bit lower, slower arc and trajectory, not a deep, moon ball with touch. It's I see my guy, I'm going right at him. I have to because the safety's going to get there. If I don't, that was one of the best throws I've seen him make, and I want to see more like that moving forward. So, all right, Sinkers Beverages, paulkuharsky.com. What you got going on the website this week?
Drew Beatty is going to look more closely at the offensive line and what they've been up to in a film study coming up next, and much more coming this week from me, from Mike Herndon, from you, I suspect, heading into the first weekend of the playoffs. Oh, yeah. So look forward to seeing what I should be looking at, what we should be looking at, Titans-wise, out of first round of the NCAA Final 16.
The final 12, yeah. It'll expand to 16 next year. Probably.
Yeah, I'm envisioning the future. Final 164.
All three quarterbacks that are projected top 10 picks, all three of them are in the playoff, which is really interesting. And then there's certain teams that are just loaded with potential first-round picks. Alabama and Oklahoma have a lot of defensive players that are worth scouting this week. It's going to be a defensive game on Friday night. You got Oregon with a ton of offensive and defensive candidates for the draft, especially in the first and second round. So, a lot to see there. Miami and A&M. You want to see Ruben Bain? He's going up against one of the best offensive lines in the country this weekend against Texas A&M. So, lots of really good stuff for the Titans to study, for Titans fans to study over the course of the college football playoff. A lot of the good players are in the playoff this year, so it should be a ton of fun. Even though it's probably just going to be Georgia and Ohio State in the championship game again. So we'll see. Otherwise, Sinkers Beverages, 40 years of service. Just remember the name. If you need a stocking stuffer, if you need a Christmas gift, if you need all that stuff, please just go check out Sinkers Beverages. They do a great job. They have tons of quality products in there. They've got great expertise, and they've been doing this for a long, long time. So just make sure you take care of them. What is Jordan saying here? Braden, please don't be one of those draft people who gaslight us into thinking safety would be a good investment in the top three. No, I think Caleb Downs might be the best player in the country, but I don't think he's the pick for the Titans unless you're trading back and you're picking like 14th or something.
No, there's no circumstance under which he's the best pick for the Titans. None.
No. Arvell Reese is the only guy I sign off on drafting in the top three. That's it. I don't sign off on any other player. Not even Ruben Bain. If you're back at 5 or 6 and he's there, maybe trade back. Still get that guy. Reese is the guy I would go after.
Let's get some more production out of Reese. How about?
Well, he's never played really pass rusher much at all, but
that's what I want. A pass rusher who's never played pass rusher. Sounds great.
He's a freak.
Like Femi. Let's get a guy in here to rush the passer who hasn't rushed the passer.
That's a funny joke right now. Doesn't apply to Arvell Reese, but it's okay. So,
well, you just said he hadn't have much experience,
except for he's the most dominant defensive player maybe on the best defense in America. So we'll see. Although that defense is just filthy loaded. Kenyatta Jackson, Sonny Styles, Caleb Downs, you name it. They've got great players on that defense. So we'll see.
My draft thought, without knowing nearly as much as him, give me production. Give me somebody who produced in college at a challenging school against challenging competition. That's what
I want them to trade down and take David Bailey and Mekhi Lemon in the first round. That's what I want them to do. Pass rusher out of Texas Tech, and then get Mekhi Lemon, wide receiver out of USC. Those are the two players who are incredibly productive.
I don't mind that scenario. I wonder about Concepcion maybe as
very good. He's very good. He could be available at 33. I'm not sure about that, or 34 or 35, wherever they end up picking. But I think your top, if you trade down, I think you need edge rusher, wide receiver, corner with those three. Avion Terrell is going to be available potentially in the back half of the first round. Corner out of Clemson. So lots of good stuff. We'll see. Mekhi Lemon's my guy. I voted for him for the Blitnikoff. So I think he won the award. So there you go.
He's got votes for everything.
I got a Groza vote.
Football,
I got
if you watch a game, you get a vote. I'm surprised I don't have ballots on these things. I watch games. They give them out like Monopoly money.
I watch lots of NFL football. Do I get a Hall of Fame vote? I don't devalue your criteria for voting.
No, but there are 50 of us. It's a small club.
There's only 32 teams.
Hall of Fame voters. And for NCAA football, 5,000 Heisman Trophy.
No,
which one's more meaningful?
That's not correct.
How many?
You're peddling in propaganda at this point.
How many? 1,100.
So hang on. How many players on an NFL roster? 53.
Yeah.
Okay, so 32 teams times 53 players. There's 1,600 players you have to cover, roughly speaking, in a given year.
Yeah.
Do you want to know how many college football players you have to cover in a given year? More than twice as many, 13,000 or 14,000 players.
And so this is solved by giving ballots to everyone?
No, you need more voters to be out on covering more teams. You have 136 teams at 100 players per team. You got to have more people covering this stuff.
So
you can't do just 32 where it's on every single night and every single.
Right, but this is solved. Diego Pavia is being observed by all the voters in the Pacific Northwest. That solves it. Or the voters in Maine. It doesn't solve the problem.
I don't think there's a lot of voters in Maine. So
I think there are voters everywhere. How many voters are there? You haven't answered the question.
It's like 900, I think.
Yeah, it's a lot of voters.
Ballpark.
It's a popularity contest.
I don't think so, but this year
the popularity contest, unless you get bored with the guy who's most popular, and then you don't give it to Peyton Manning, which was a shame.
Well, oh God.
We don't have to go there.
Charles Woodson is a first ballot Hall of Fame NFL all-time
phenomenal football player. He was
totally worthy. He was totally worthy.
Not more worthy than Peyton Manning.
He's not the problem is how many players are almost as good as Peyton Manning, and Charles Woodson's one of them. He was as good at what he did on a football field as Peyton Manning did.
You can't defend Charles Woodson over Peyton Manning. The only reason you're doing it is to not appear a UT homer.
No, I think that Tennessee fans get a little too deranged about some stuff, and Charles Woodson derangement syndrome is just like Pavia derangement syndrome. They can't handle the fact that guy was actually deserving. Do you want to? Can we argue Manning might have deserved to win it? Sure, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But don't tell me Charles Woodson wasn't deserving.
Well, he wasn't deserving in that he was the second best guy, and the first best guy is supposed to win it.
How about this to drop a bomb on Titans fans and a lot of you Alabama fans? I didn't vote for Derrick Henry for Heisman.
Who'd you vote for?
Christian McCaffrey. Turns out they're both pretty awesome. So.
Seems reasonable. It doesn't matter what they do after you win the Heisman. That doesn't.
No.
Whether
That's
you
just about
deserve the Heisman.
No, of course not. Of course not.
All right, dismiss me here. I'm giving you overtime.
GTFOH, Paul. PaulKuharsky.com. Yeah, you're probably the only guy that'll ask for it on the show. Thanks for everybody subscribing and listening. We do appreciate you guys. Go to PaulKuharsky.com. Sinkers Beverages.
Very much. And you're welcome for that extra bit of patriotism I brought you today.
Still talking.
Waving flag.
Still talking.
So
Nick Suss on Thursday. We got lots of college football coverage for those playoff games. I've had one-on-one interviews. Shut it. We've had one-on-one interviews with Matt Stahl of AL.com coming up on YouTube. Josh McQuiston covering the Oklahoma Sooners that's coming up. We've got one with got a blank now. Neil McCready covering Ole Miss.
With brotherhood.
David Nuno of Texas A&M. We've looked at every SEC team on SEC Football Live. Go check it out. Paul.
It's great.
Sing.
Talk over that.
Sing.
All right, let's go. Let's go. Dismiss.
Bye, everybody.
Dismiss.